Hello everyone, John Martinez here with Midwest Revenue Group and the 21-Day Sales Challenge. Today's topic is going to be short and sweet in more ways than just one. We're going to talk about sales emails and really the best practices that go with those emails. And the reason is because really we communicate in a ton of different ways, right? We communicate via phone, text, email, face-to-face, and then through a dozen other digital applications and things like that, right? And it's not just us. Our prospects do the same thing, right? The people that we're trying to sell to or buy from, they all communicate in different ways too. And what we have to do to be really effective with our sales messaging is we've got to communicate however our prospects prefer we communicate. And sometimes people just like to do everything through email, right? Sometimes people will always pick up the phone, won't answer an email. Sometimes vice versa, right? Some people will text only and never answer their phone. And that's switched around sometimes too, right? You can text people, they'll never text you back, but they'll always pick up when you call. We all have different ways we communicate, and email is one of those big ones. But that kind of presents a problem, right? The problem is this. Sometimes when we write emails, I'd say the vast majority of us, we're just freaking winging it, right? We're just winging it. We're doing the best we can. We're throwing out a message and hoping someone responds. And when we do that, there's not really any tactic, no strategy behind it. So here's where we are, right? We're not really sure if we're emailing the most effective way possible. We're emailing, that's good, but we're not sure if we're doing it the right way or not. And that's an issue. So that communication, it can really be the difference between getting a deal and not getting a deal. I mean, and that's what sales is all about. That's what this 21-Day Sales Challenge is all about, to help you get more deals. And if email could possibly stand in the way of that communication, we probably should address it, right? Now, to make the email problem even worse, if that's not enough, to make it even worse, let's talk about long-term email nurturing campaigns. We all need to have one. And the reason for this is because investors who do, they usually attribute somewhere around 30% of their sales to email campaigns. Now, that stat, I really didn't pull from anywhere. I just work with so many investors. That's the number I hear across the board. So roughly 30% of their sales each year, after a long-term nurture is in place, they're saying that it comes from long-term nurturing campaigns, mainly email. So if they've done $1 million for the year, 300,000 of it simply came from long-term nurturing strategies, mainly email. So we can say it's vital, right? It's crucial. This is really important stuff. So you absolutely have to know how to write a good email, or else you're literally leaving money on the table. So I'll ask you, is this important enough to address? If your answer to that is yes, I'm going to give you a few email secrets you need to maximize open rates and click-throughs and that type of things. We just want to maximize really the interaction, right? We want your prospects to open them up, read them, and take some type of action. Now, I haven't personally done a lot of studies on email best practices. You need just millions and millions of emails to get any good data. So I've pulled this data that we're about to go through companies like Convince and Convert, Contact Monkey, Sidekick, eMarketer, Ascend2, Epsilon Mail, Aberdeen, DMA, ClickZ, just a bunch of different companies that totally geek out on this stuff and love this type of data. And it's really good data. So let's jump into this thing, okay? Let's go ahead and focus on a few best practices, okay? And when we're all done with this, you're going to have a really good idea how to write either a one-off email or even a complete email nurturing campaign. You'll have those best practices in your back pocket, and you can use them every time. Now, I'm not going to overwhelm you. We could literally go through hundreds of best practices, but I'm just going to give you a handful because that's all you really need. So I'm going to give you a handful of really easy to implement and effective email strategies. So here's the first one. Open with a question that gets the reader to say yes, okay? Do you blank? Have you ever blank? Very, very good with email opening tactics, and I'll tell you why. Number one, it gets them engaged right from the start. Number two, most cell phones, most email viewing platforms, whether it's a desktop or cell phone or whatever, they give you an email preview, right? And that email preview is going to show you about the first 5 to 7 words. So if you get an engaging question in the preview, they're going to open that email up. Make sense? So that means we want to keep it short, right? If your first 4 sentences are just filler, will they ever see that through the email window, through the preview window? Absolutely not. On top of that, if you open up an email and it freaking looks like a novel, you're not going to really read that. You just shut it down. You're like, here's a typical sales email. So keep it short. And when I say short, I even mean short lines, right? Keep the email short, keep your lines short, keep everything short and sweet about it. You see, emails with somewhere between 50 and 125 words, they have the best response rates. So you don't want to go less than 50 or over 125 words, okay? Emails that are 10 words or shorter get a response rate of about 36%. In that sweet spot of between 50 and 125, you're looking at about a response rate of 50%. Now, as you write these things, you want to focus on creating a personal tone. But when I say personal tone, don't over-personalize it, right? If you can insert a first name into the subject line or into the text of the email, right? Especially when we address the person, that's good. That's engaging. If we start to show them pictures of their house, right? If we go on Google Maps and we grab a picture of their house and their family members and things like that, that it's just plain creepy, right? So personalize, but don't over-personalize. And you want to get real. Not too real, but you want to get a little bit real. So the data tells us that messages that express it doesn't matter positive or negative tone, but just a little positivity or negativity, they evoke 10 to 15% more responses than completely neutral emails. And also, if you go too much with the emotion, you're going to get that kind of the same responses you do with those neutral emails as well. So, as you go through it, you might want to evoke, hey, would it be cool if you could? Or doesn't it kind of stink when this happens? That's what you want. That's the kind of tone you want in your email. So you can start even combining some of these. So what if your first line is 5 to 7 words long? You use their first name. You use a little positive or negative tone, and you maybe ask them a question, something like, hey, doesn't it stink? Hey, Tom, doesn't it stink when ... We're going to dramatically, really increase the effectiveness for emails when we do stuff like that. So we also want to start with our sentences with words like imagine, remember, picture this. What we want to do is again, get our readers really engaged in the email. We want them to take part of it, not be an autopilot and just skim through it or not look at it at all, right? Now, as we craft our email, we also want to use the word because as often as possible. Now, there's a lot of psychological tests and things like that. Basically, when we use the word because, it validates everything that was before it. You can basically say anything you want and then say because and then put a reason why. And no matter what those things are, people just believe it. They actually believe it. They won't really fight you on it if you just use the word because. So another quick tip for you, just absolutely forget about the big words. I know a lot of people want to seem very professional or show how smart they are, or that they got a degree in English or whatever it is. We got to forget about the big words, right? Emails written with a 3rd grade reading level, those have the highest response rates. These emails perform 36%er in terms of open rates and response rates as those written with a college reading level, right? So, and even better than those with a high school reading level. So 3rd grade, right? Short words, short email, short sentences. Again, keep it all short. We don't have to overthink this thing. Now, as you write this email, we also want to make it super simple to read. That's one reason why keeping all those things short actually works. So every 1 to 3 sentences, go ahead and double tap that enter button, and that will space it out. Have you guys ever tried to read a really long paragraph and it's just all single spaced? You finish one line, you go to the beginning of the next line, and you lost your space. We've got to make it easily flow down the page so people actually stay engaged and read it. So every 1 to 3 sentences, go ahead and just double tap that enter button, okay? Now, we also want to isolate the important information using bullet points, okay? Again, this is all about the ease of reading your actual email. If it looks like a huge clump of 1,000 words, people won't read it. But if it's spaced out, short sentences, if someone's just glancing over it, you want it laid out so it's super simple to read. We don't want to make our reader do any work. They don't like that. So isolate the important information using bullet points. Better yet, go ahead and bold those bullet points. Any key benefits, again, we want to draw the reader's attention to what's important. Don't worry about the filler, right? Just like this slide you're looking at now. You see bold in red. What is your eye drawn to? That's the most important piece of this slide, so that's what I want you to look at. Now, you can also do things like ask a question. Now, when sales reps would ask 1 to 3 questions in their emails, recipients were 50% more likely to respond. That's 1 to 3 questions, guys. That doesn't mean give them a questionnaire, okay? 1 to 3 questions, I usually lean on just 1 question, right? Too many, it's just too much work for them, okay? So another thing we want to do is include a call to action. Now, this is just marketing 101. We've got to tell our reader what we would like them to do. Give us a call, check out our website, whatever it is. But, let's take this a step further. If you really want your emails to pop, instead of including a call to action, take that call to action and switch it to a call to value. All this means is this: replace that action word with what value it brings them. So instead of visit our website, it might be, hey, check out how much we could pay for your house, right? Anything like that. Instead of give us a call for the call to action, it might mean, get value on your home today, whatever it is. Just switch out that call to action with the call to value. Okay. Now, as we're wrapping this thing up, we also want to leave a PS or two. Okay, 1 or 2. People, when reading emails, will usually look at the beginning, the first line, okay? They're going to look at those bold and highlighted points and those bulleted items, and then they're going to skim down and usually look at a PS. So that's what, if people skim an email, those are the few things they're going to look at. So you want to use a PS. So combine a couple of these things again. Why don't you use their name in the PS, put your call to action or your call to value in the PS, and then you've killed 2 or 3 birds with 1 stone. You're also keeping your email short, right? So I just threw a lot at you. That should be enough to make a difference with your response rates, your click-throughs, just your overall emails. It should also make you feel good because you don't have to craft novels anymore. Short, sweet emails. And hey, if you're like me, you've seen my slides. If you write with the 3rd grade vocabulary, well, then, it just works out. You don't have to feel bad about it. So, guys, if you had this information a year ago, do you think revenue might look a little different? If you had some people who answered some emails who didn't answer your emails, is it possible you could have snuck one more little deal in there? I don't know the answer to that, only you do. But if you want to find out if implementing this type of stuff in your emails is going to help you this year or this month or this week, or shoot, maybe even on a deal you're working on right now, well, if you want to figure that out, go ahead and use some of this stuff. Implement it. Put it in play. My name's John Martinez. I'm with Midwest Revenue Group, and this is the 21-day REI Sales Challenge.